The Miata became so much more of a project than I was ever anticipating. The one time that I buy a sports car with the intention of leaving it alone, it quickly turns into a car that refuses to work without getting attention. And so today, we are taking the final steps to finishing the Miata once and for all. Here's the dumb thing about working on cars. When you work on one part of the car, the part that you don't touch will go wrong. Now, I did some research into this phenomenon, and I thought this was due to Murphy's Law, which essentially states that if something has the ability to happen, it will. But here's the issue with applying that law to this situation. The transmission has no ability to go wrong here. I replaced the engine, not the transmission, so as to why the engine would go in without a hitch and not have a single check engine light, yet the transmission will be the sole reason that I can't drive this car still baffles me. So since last time I replaced the master cylinder, this time I will be replacing the slave. To help me out, I will be using this pressure bleeder that I got off ECS Tuning's website. I used this last time on the Mustang to help me bleed the brakes, and it made life so much easier. The reason that this will help so much for the Miata is because the Miata's clutch line is very twisted, which means that getting air bubbles out of the system is a lot more difficult. This kit comes with a universal mount to fit over the master cylinder. Now it is much bigger than needed, which actually became an issue for me later down the road. You see, the universal fitting was made to fit over the brake reservoir, which generally is bigger than the clutch master cylinder reservoir and easier to access. So what would happen is that I would open up the pressurized tank to feed into the master cylinder and it would leak. I ran through a whole lot of different seating arrangements with the top to no avail. Through trial and error later that night, off camera unfortunately, I did find that if I wrapped the master cylinder threads in electrical tape and used the European brake reservoir fitting, I could successfully bleed the clutch. But that wasn't all for the Miata. The old roll bar pad needed to go. It was no longer padding for my head, but an extended piece of rock that did nothing more than speed up the process at which I would get a concussion if I ever slammed my head into it. Replacing it is incredibly simple. Take off the old, put on the new, and use the highest quality zip ties that you can find to hold it into place. The final step on the Miata was to replace the plastic bushings in the shifter. Although replacing the slave cylinder made the transmission work, replacing the shifter bushings is simple enough of a task that I wanted to do it. You often don't realize how worn that your old bushings are, even if you pull out your old shifter. The bushings were in okay condition, but were starting to show some warping on the Miata, and when I compared the old bushings to the new one, what I was very surprised about was by how much thinner the old one was simply from wear and tear. Replacing them makes a noticeable difference too. Oftentimes with old cars, shifting through the first few gears can be a little rough, but replacing the bushings can greatly help with the issue. So now with all the work that we've done to the transmission, it's all shifting like new. If you told me that this old Miata would get as much work done to it when I first got it, I would not have believed you. It's been quite the journey, so the best way to wrap it all up is to sit back and see all that we've done.
3